Hey everybody, happy Sunday. I hope that wherever you are and whatever you are doing, you are having a fantastic weekend. It is very windy and very cold here at the house up in the Coast Range in the Pacific Northwest. And if you haven't watched the Chicken and Garden update, but you like me babbling on about chickens and gardens, go watch it because it's bee cold today and we have an unexpected last frost coming. And so I've been rushing around trying to protect all my plants. Anyway, that is not what I want to talk to you about today, but I do want to talk to you about something that may make you chilled to the bone. No, I'm not talking about the bone chill thing of D&D. I am in fact talking about ghost charging stations. Ghost charging stations are becoming more of an issue, I would argue. Not so much with fast charging stations, but definitely with level 2 charging stations. People who jumped on the EV bandwagon way back in the early days of the EV, now more than a decade ago, in fact, in some cases 20 plus years ago, if they're original inductive paddle chargers for those early RAV4 EVs, although I think there's only 1 or 2 of those left in operation that are actually reliable. So let's talk about the J1772 or the Type 2 charging stations, depending on which side of the Atlantic you live. Those charging stations, those level 2 charging stations, some of them are now more than a decade old and they're starting to break. Some of the companies that designed those early charging stations have gone out of business, or they are no longer offering after-sales service for them, or the companies that did the maintenance contracts for those are no longer around, or the charging network that put them in has gone bust or been acquired. And so we're seeing lots and lots and lots and lots now of ghost charging stations. Here in North America, they are all seemingly on the blink charging stations, although I've seen some charge point ones too that are ghost charging stations that no longer are connected to the charge point network and don't seem to accept any method of payment, and you can't unlock them and start using them. Some of them have kind of defaulted to free vend, which is nice. But with regard to the blink charging stations, I haven't been able to get the blink charging app to work for probably about 2 years now. I know there is a local supermarket chain which had CHAdeMO, a twin head CHAdeMO charging station, and it was a big deal when they went in because they were some of the first CHAdeMO charging stations, but now they're all dead and they've got blank screens and they're just taking up space. And then you have problems with people parking in front of them, and then they'll park in front of a dead charging station because nobody uses it. They're more likely then to park in front of an active charging station and block access to other people, whether that is an EV owner, as we often see at this local supermarket, or whether it's someone in a big gas guzzling pickup truck, which is also pretty common. I want to know what the state of ghost charging stations is like where you are. Is it something that you are seeing an increase in number of? Are there charging stations that you used to use on a regular basis that are suddenly no longer online or no longer working? Or charging stations that have stopped working and nobody seems to care about them, either because all of those reasons I already gave, or perhaps it's owned and operated by a company as a perk for customers, and the person who originally put those charging stations in, or was the drive to have those charging stations in, maybe they retired, maybe they moved on to a different position, and their successor has no interest or knowledge about those EV charging stations, and they just go, oh yeah, they're a bit broken and they're a bit rubbish because they kept breaking. We just decided we're not going to fix them. I would love to know how many of those you're seeing where you live. So let me know in the comments below what brands you regularly see that are ghost charging stations. And I'm not talking about, I just want to be clear here, I don't want to talk about actually operating reliable-ish charging networks. And I also don't want to talk about charging networks that are still in existence but are terribly unreliable. Blink kind of fits into that, but I'm giving Blink a special exception because I see more dead Blink charging stations than any other type of charging station. I don't want to talk also about networks like Electrify America, where the charging stations are broken. I'm talking about locations where the charging stations have been turned off. They clearly have not worked in a really long time. If you own a very early Nissan Leaf, for example, they might not have access to telematics anymore because Nissan has moved the telematics over as cell phone networks have turned off 2 and 3G transmitters, and a lot of those cars are no longer connected to things like what was car wings isn't anymore. And so those cars can't even get updated charging maps. And we all know how terrible Google and Apple Maps are, and to some extent Waze, in identifying charging networks. So if you are an owner of an older EV, it really can be a little hit and miss trying to find a location that works, and sometimes just turning up and discovering that charging station clearly hasn't been in operation for a really long time. That is my definition of a ghost charging station. Of course, there are some possibilities that those charging stations might be adopted by programs like Adopt a Charger, which is run by Kitty Adams here in the US, or other kind of charging networks come along and go, oh, there used to be a charging station here, we'd like to put one of our own in, and sometimes you see that happen. I would argue it's becoming less common to see old charging stations ripped out and new ones put in from a different company, because a lot of the time, you know, the new company has to persuade the owner of the building or the council or the municipality that, okay, yeah, we want to put these new charging stations in that are going to be better, we promise. And I think a lot of those early charging station operators that are no longer in business, and a lot of those early charging station sites have been burned. And they're like, this is too much hassle. We don't want a repeat performance of this. Are there any Tesla destination chargers that are no longer in operation? I'm sure there are. You don't hear about that very often. I think that's partly because Tesla owners tend to want to go to more expensive locations where the cost of keeping a Tesla destination charger running is perhaps more appealing to the owner and operator of that hotel or that store or that restaurant than it might be if it was just a regular old Type 2 or a J1772 charging station. But I would love to know how you go about identifying those ghost charging stations. Do you have a list? Do you go in and talk to the people at those locations and go, hey, how long has this charging station been offline? Who do I need to talk to get it back online again? Maybe it's a case of the charging station is fine, but someone in management says, we're not doing that anymore, and they flipped a breaker. I've even heard of it being a malicious thing. So there's maybe someone on staff who hates EVs, who's been listening to a lot of anti-EV fun on talk radio, and every time they go in when no one's looking, they walk up to the breaker and they flip it. I have heard of those kind of stories before, and then you'll get somebody else on staff who opens and goes, oh yeah, when I discover that's off, I just turn it back on. Maybe someone doesn't know it's maliciously happening. Maybe they just assume that the breaker keeps going. It could be any number of reasons. But I want to know how you go about dealing with those ghost charging stations. Do you have a list? Where you are? What's it like in your area? And how would you go about trying to eliminate those ghost charging stations? Adopt them like Casper the Friendly Ghost. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'm going to go somewhere warm now, i.e. inside. And I'll see you here next week. Thanks for joining me today, and if you've got thoughts, make sure you leave them below in our Discord chat room, or you can reach out to us on Mastodon. Thanks to the amazing list of people scrolling by on your screen right now. They are some of the more than 1,500 people that help make this channel possible by funding it through Patreon and YouTube, covering our bills, paying our team, and making sure we can be 100% independent. If you'd like to join them and see your name listed here, just follow the links below. There are a range of different tiers you can sign up for, from as little as $1 a month or if you pay yearly, $10.08 a year. A massive welcome to our newest supporters, Ralph Koenig, Mr. Eldritch, Dwayne Adiger, and Corey Singletray. To join our list and get your shout out, become a paid Patreon member for your week of fame. If you'd like to support us with a one-off donation, you'll also find links below to make Ko-fi and Bitcoin donations, and we even have an old-fashioned PO box you can reach us at. The address is listed below. And of course, if you're in need of some swag, you'll find our swag store link in the down below as well. This month, we are celebrating Wrangling EV FUD with a fantastic t-shirt design by our in-house artist and animator, Erin. Get yours today by heading to our Redbubble store. We've got some great content coming up, so make sure you're subscribed on PeerTube or YouTube, and we'll see you soon. We make new videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you want more, the mighty algorithm thinks you'll like this video, but we also think that this one is well worth a look. See you soon, and as always, keep evolving!